Ziggy zaggy, ziggy zaggy, oi, oi, oi. Ziggy zaggy, oi, oi, oi.
Clink 'em and drink 'em.
Welcome to Chop and Brew. I am Chip Walton.
And I'm Ryan Schenian.
And I'm Judi Schenian.
We are a mother-son brew team.
And I am in their kitchen. We're celebrating one of the best beer-related holidays of the year, Oktoberfest.
Woo!
Prost.
It is currently mid-September, which is actually the traditional Oktoberfest, right? Strangely enough.
Yes, it is.
There's something amiss here. These are not true Oktoberfest lagered Marzen-style beers. This is an Aletoberfest.
Yes, it is indeed.
Or a Mocktoberfest.
Or an Aletoberfest or an Altoberfest, whatever you want to call it.
Fauxtoberfest.
A brew of many names.
Ryan and Judi had a great idea to brew an Oktoberfest gone ale style. So what you're going to see in this episode is these two getting on that brew day, doing all the crazy things that come with that, and then we pitched an ale yeast.
Yes, we did.
Y yeast 1007.
Yep, German ale.
Ryan here fermented it. We're going to talk about the fermentation process, and then we're going to drink it, which we've had a couple, and it's very good stuff. This works very well. So if you, being in mid-September, want to brew one of these for sometime in October for Oktoberfest, you're about to see the secret to the Aletoberfest. Chop for chop.
Brew for brew. Hi, I'm Ryan, and this is my mom here, my assistant brewmaster,
Judi.
Judi.
Hi.
And we've been brewing together for about 2 years now. We started with our first extract batch in 2011 of October, and
Nut
it was
brown.
a nut brown ale. And ever since then, we were completely hooked. And I think it worked so well because that first batch turned out really well. I think maybe we would have been a little more discouraged if something would have went wrong and wouldn't have tasted so well. So,
Yeah.
and ever since that, we've been on and off brewing together, and we segued into partial mashes, and now we're doing all grain, and it's really great. It's a good hobby to have with somebody else. It really, really is great.
It's great too because we both like beer, so.
It's the gift that gives back.
Yes.
And today we're going to be making an Oktoberfest beer, but we're actually going to be fermenting it with an ale strain. So if there are any lager purists out there that don't want to hear that we're making an Oktoberfest with an ale strain, should probably discontinue watching this video right now. And basically, the grain bill, I did a lot of research online, looking at various forums. I also looked at some of the brewing books that I had to see what kind of a grain bill I might want to go with. And I was kind of leaning towards making a beer that has a little bit more of an amber color versus a lighter style. And I also wanted to have a little bit of good bitterness going on in there. So I have a 60-minute and a 15-minute edition going on in this brew session today. We're going to be doing 5 pounds of Munich malt, 5 pounds of Vienna malt, 1 pound of dark Munich malt, and then half a pound of Care Munich malt 2. And that's going to be the bulk of the grain bill. And we're going to be using Y yeast 107, the German ale strain. Well, I do have a chest freezer and I do have a temperature controller. So I suppose a lot of people are saying, why aren't you doing a lager? Well, part of the issue is I have a 6-gallon glass carboy that I don't really want to be lifting in and out of the chest freezer. And also the chest freezer is full currently with beer bottles, and it's also full with a couple of the kegs that I have. And so instead, I'm going to be doing a method which is called the swamp cooler method, which I have done for other batches. I have a big plastic tub that I fill with water and ice cubes, and then I put the fermenter inside there and I wrap a towel around it, and the towel is still submerged somewhat in the water so that the cold water will come up the carboy, and it helps keep the temperature, because the ambient temperature in the basement currently is around 63 degrees. We want to ferment somewhere around mid-50s, maybe a little bit lower that if possible. And so that's the reason why we're avoiding the lager strain. And I also want to reuse this ale strain to make another beer in the future. And I don't generally make lagers. I haven't made a lager yet. So there's another reason why I kind of want to stick with what I'm comfortable with the ale strains, is being able to have a beer that'll be ready a lot quicker. Because I'll tell you one thing, I mean, homebrewing's great, but if you're impatient, waiting is the hardest part for sure. Yes, since I've been segueing to brewing outdoors, I don't really have a great setup for doing a 3-tier gravity-fed system. So as you can see, I do my makeshift. I grab a bunch of random chairs and put them together and I still don't have a setup to do continuous fly sparging. So right now we're going to do the recirculation process, and we're also going to do kind of a Chip Walton style continuous fly hand sparging. So check it out. This is our first time doing this.
Well, I think basically both of us really enjoy beer, but we enjoy good beer. You know? And so Ryan really kind of came up with the idea that he wanted to start brewing something at home. I mean, I have a cousin who lives in Colorado who is a big home brewer. He's actually more of a lager person. He's been to Germany a couple of times. So it must run in our blood a little bit. But so we went down to Northern Brewer, got the initial kit, came home and brewed it on our kitchen stove in my spaghetti kettle. We didn't have the fancy kettle then. And we just really enjoyed the process. We enjoyed spending the time together and especially enjoyed the beer when it was all done, because it really turned out quite well. And I think that's the reason why we really got into it, is because it was such a fun process. We enjoyed the outcome, and we just wanted to get into it a little bit deeper, and that's why he eventually got into the all grain. And we like to do our own little mini homebrew tastings, so we'll open about 5-6 bottles of different things that we've brewed, or we'll go to the keg and we'll do some tastings and see what we like, what we don't like, so that we know what maybe we don't want to do next time, or what we might want to build upon for a future batch.
I like this idea, Chip, I gotta say. Yeah, the Oktoberfest ale that we're starting today, we're planning that it'll ferment for probably about 2 weeks. We'll check the gravity and see where it's at from there. And then we are going to let it sit for roughly probably 2 to 3 months, depending on how long we think it needs to condition. Because I'm actually going to be leaving for Africa in July, so that's why we're getting this brew done now, so we can transfer it to secondary, and then that way I'll be gone for 3 solid weeks, and I won't have to worry about being impatient and worrying about where that beer's at. And that way we can just let it sit in condition, and then when we come back, we'll check the gravity, see where it's at, see how well it's looking and tasting, and go from there on when we want to keg it. Well, the first runnings are reading about 1074. So if we let it ride out from here, we'd have a pretty big beer, but we wouldn't have much of it. Yeah, I'm less concerned about the secondary temperature. I definitely do plan to keep it in the swamp cooler, to kind of keep it a little bit more lager-like at a cooler temperature, because like I said, the ambient temperature in my basement is roughly around 63 degrees, so it's a little warm for what we're trying to acquire. We want to have, since we're doing an ale strain, we want to keep the temperature low to keep the esters low as well, and any other byproducts that the yeast might create that we're not really looking for, because we are trying to get some sort of a pseudo lager-like profile. Since it's a 60-minute edition, I'm kind of more aiming for just contributing more bitterness versus flavor, because there is going to be a 15-minute edition of Hallertau, because we're using German tradition hops. 60 minutes, time to go on in. But yeah, no, we've been considering an Oktoberfest party of some sort. We were considering it. We were thinking we might have some of the relatives and cousins over and have an Oktoberfest party, but
brats on the grill, and
we'll end up killing the keg if we have everybody over. That's for sure.
One evening at your house with the cousins, and,
right.
and the keg is
well,
gone.
especially because I have a bunch of like German-style steins that I would probably use for the beer like this, and something big like that, you could expect a couple fills, and you're going to be bottom of the keg in no time. All right, 15-minute edition, German Hallertau. And that's it. Now we wait. All right, we just finished up the brew day. Worked out really well. As you can see, towards the end, the sun finally started to come out here in Minnesota. And we're really looking forward to pitching that yeast and keeping an eye on the temperatures. And hopefully in a couple months here, probably about in August or so, we're kind of shooting for enjoying the Oktoberfest and seeing how it turned out.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching. Prost.
Back here in the Schenian kitchen, that was then. This is now. From late June to mid-September, we are now among the Aletoberfest, and it is solid and awesome. Would you agree?
I
Yes.
do definitely agree.
What do you guys, what's your tasting notes on this beautiful beer?
I definitely think in the nose I get a little bit of a toast character, maybe a little faint yeast. The flavor is definitely very bready, grainy, but it's also very smooth, like a traditional Oktoberfest tends to be.
Yeah. So this one, what do you think, Judy? What do you think of the flavor, the taste?
I agree with him. I mean, we did do a little tasting about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and it's definitely gotten better over that time. So
part of that is clearing up. You said
I think so.
it's definitely clear. As you
Yeah,
can see in
it's
your glass.
crystal clear, and I definitely, usually I will add Whirlflock, but by letting this condition for a month or so just in the keg itself, it's cleared up plenty. And it could just be this yeast strain,
Yeah.
but it definitely cleared up very well.
Let's talk about 1007 German Ale. What attributes do you feel this lent to it that keeps it true Oktoberfest tasting, but also maybe not quite?
Well, one thing I definitely think is that it doesn't really attenuate quite a lot, so it kind of keeps it so there's a little bit of sweetness there, which is generally part of an actual Oktoberfest. And I definitely think it balances really, really well.
I think the thing I like about this actually is there is a little more kind of body to it. A lot of Oktoberfest can taste like so clean that they kind of just like slip. They
Yep.
like slip past. Tastes good, but then it's just gone, and that could be a good reason to just keep drinking. But I feel like with these, it's really, really clean, but there's a little more kind of girth to it, a little more strength to
Yes.
it, and it's not a strong beer, so
No,
that's very interesting.
It came in at about 5.3%, so just a little over 5%, but it drinks very, very easy.
This is definitely a beer you could drink fest style
Oh, for sure.
in giant steins.
And I tried to keep the temperature somewhere between 62 and 63, somewhere towards the lower end for this strain, to kind of keep down the esters and other byproducts of the yeast to keep it as clean as we possibly could do. And it stayed relatively well with the swamp cooler method. I mean, it did get a little bit high to 63, 64 at times, but overall it kind of remained and stayed within the temperature ranges that I was shooting for. And then I didn't really secondary it for too long. I actually kept it all in primary, and then I kegged it.
Okay.
I would say about a week or it was about a month or so from when I initially started fermenting, because we were in Africa for 3 weeks, so I wasn't really able to transfer it to secondary. So I left it in there for about a whole month, and then when we got back, we kegged it, and so it's been sitting in the keg since end of July.
So someone could argue the keg has actually been the secondary, which means it's kind of gone through a little bit of lagering, which I think has helped push
Yes,
all
indeed.
that
Yep.
sediment out. You blew
Definitely.
it out in a couple of pints, and now it's a clear, garnety, kind of
Yep.
toasty, bready. I mean, the fact that this didn't have a true base malt, we're talking about Munich and Vienna on a large scale, dark Munich, Cara Munich on the smaller scales, it's just got so much oomph to it. It's got so much flavor because there's no like 2-row just in there wimping it up.
Yeah.
It's a very solid,
Yes.
flavorful beer. So if someone's going to brew an Aletoberfest, we have very little time if you're going to drink it in true October. What other ale yeast, from your experience, do you think might play well into this kind of workaround?
Well, I definitely think the German ale worked very well for this beer in itself. I had also heard that the Bohemian Lager strain can also be used at ale temperatures, so that would be another one to try. I haven't really tried many other strains, so those would be the two that I'd potentially recommend for testing.
What about 1056? What about just straight American ale? What do you think this would have the same character? Or do you think it would be kind of a little too stripped clean?
I think it would be a little too stripped clean. I think it'd be really dry, and
Yeah.
I don't think that the malt would quite shine as much. It might be, along the lines of some of the Oktoberfest that you had mentioned before, where they're really dry and you can just kind of drink a ton of them.
Yeah.
But this one has a little bit more body, and I think a huge part of that has to do with the strain which was used.
So as a collaborative effort between mother and son, what are you proud of this, Judi?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
And you're German, right?
German heritage.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
So would Grossmutter be proud?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And tonight we paired it with some amazing food, right? Tell us about what we ate tonight and what somebody at home might want to consider eating alongside this.
Well, of course, we had bratwurst, and then we had a very special, very German style of sauerkraut, which I learned at a German cooking class. Ryan made his special German potatoes, and then I also did cream cheese bars because they go well with just about anything.
They went really good. It's like the sweetness, the body. Tell me about, real quick, the sauerkraut and these potatoes. If somebody wants, we didn't go in depth about the process on video, but how do you make these two things?
Well, the sauerkraut, we actually took a German cooking class together, and it's not cabbage that I cut up myself. It is jarred sauerkraut, but it has apples, onions, bacon, caraway, bay leaves, 2 cups of wine, which did cook down so it didn't mix with the beer, and it was delicious.
The caraway, more
Caraway
than
seeds.
anything, I think really went with the breadiness, that kind
Absolutely.
of pumpernickel taste of this. And then your
Yep.
German potatoes, how does one make these?
Basically, I just cut up some russet potatoes and I use them on a baking pan, and I do a little bit of olive oil. I use a little bit of garlic powder or garlic salt. I like to add a little bit of oregano, a little bit of black pepper, and then I also like to add a little bit of Frank's Red Hot on there. Just let it kind of soak in a little bit so it gives a little bit of a kick to the potatoes.
All in all, this was a very wonderful evening 3 months later. Glad you guys made it back from your transatlantic
Yes.
trip
Yep.
to enjoy a true German Oktoberfest with us. I'd like to thank Judi and Ryan for having Chop and Brew over. He's actually one of the first people that ever contacted Chop and Brew. Was like, I got an idea. I'm going to Africa. I'm gonna make an Oktoberfest that'll sit the whole time I'm gone. So it was really cool to see this come to fruition. We're gonna put Ryan's recipe up at chopandbrew.com. Click recipes. He's got a lot of crazy ideas actually, so I don't think this is the last time you're going to see this guy. I'd like to thank all of you. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to contribute to Chop and Brew, that is now a possibility. Go to chopandbrew.com and click on the contribute button. We're not saying you have to, but if you want to, and a lot of people from around the world and the country have already, we appreciate the support, and it'll make sure that these things keep rolling along. But until the next time, till next October 2014, chop for chop,
Brew for brew.
Did you know what to say?
Prost.
Oh, great.
It's universal.
Salute.
Woo!
Testing. Hello.
What about you, Ryan?
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Shenian.
Schenian.
You guys watch Arrested Development?
I watched a couple
Never
episodes.
mind. Why don't we get you to cheat just a little that way, Judi?
Yeah, get out of here.
And then you kind of, boop, you over too.
And then bottle condition,
And
so
that
it wasn't
one
gonna be ready in
turned out
time.
really good. You
It
know
did.
why? Because we have St. Paul water.
St.
St. Paul water.
Woo,
That's right.
woo, woo. You come over here to big fancy Woodbury and you got to play with your water because, you know, it's not St. Paul water.
And then, blur.
I'll have a sip while you're thinking
Okay,
about it.
yeah. Have a sip while I'm thinking about. This is where my brain starts to smoke as I'm thinking things too hard. So
Is that what that is?
yeah, this does look like some epic mealtime setup. Like, bam! This week we're in the kitchen. What you know,
Yeah.
internet
We're
cooking
cooking
show.
sauerkraut with bacon, onion, bam!
Get your
C4!
C4 out.
Come on, C4 with sauerkraut!
What you know about bacon pizza donut tacos? Muscles glasses over here. Minus the glasses. Plus muscles.
Because I can't see what I'm doing.
Muscles.
There you are.
Roll out the barrel. Let's have a barrel of fun.
Yeehaw.
Zing sa torero.
Oh, listen here.
We've got the blues on the run. I'll take a sip of my beer.
Let's roll out the barrels, cause the
Gang's all here. Good beer will do that to you.
You guys didn't sign a waiver. I can use any of this. Is there anything else we need to say? We need to like flesh tone our faces again and go into?